Good evening and welcome to the Formula Racing League Assetto Corsa Competizione. Round 3 of the Taco Tuesday series. Tier 3 takes us to Brands Hatch in Kent, England. I'm Tom Cairns in the commentary box, providing you with the details for tonight's run-in. We should have 19 runners, so we should have 15 full-time drivers and 4 reserves checked in for tonight's race. It's a 90-minute special, which will include 2 mandatory pit stops. So we should see a lot of activity on circuit and in the pit lane during this evening's action. Just finishing off the final quarter of an hour of practice before 15 minutes of qualifying begins to determine the grid for the 90-minute event here in Brands Hatch. So, in terms of what's happened last week, in Misano, Darskell dominated from start to finish to lead out Kevin McKenzie by a 20-second margin. So McKenzie coming home in second place, and on the podium was Ryan, who has moved him up to 5th overall in the championship standings. A 10-point margin Darskell has over everyone else, and he'll be looking to build on that with another victory in tonight's race. He's got a very good chance of doing it, providing he makes no mistakes. He's pulling out all the stops at the moment, even in practice. He's trying to find as much time as possible so he can give himself the best chance of going for pole position, which is on offer with a championship point to go with it. 40 points for a victory, 38 for second, 36 for third, and then all the way down to 30th place, they would get 1 point. Having said that, we've only got, at the moment, 19 runners. Well, we've got 15 in the lobby at the moment, but we should see a few more by the time qualifying gets underway. If you're tuning in, we do welcome you. Do feel free to get involved in the live chat if you ever so wish. So Darskell on a lap at the moment. But we'll go on board. Who should we go on board? We'll go on board with Lego Man, because he's just coming over the line to take us on a lap of this Brands Hatch circuit. So we watch him go through Druids after he's gone through Paddock Hill Bend. Down to first gear, 80 km an hour, then shifts up to second during the apex, and then back down as he comes towards the Graham Hill Bend. 115 km an hour on the power in second gear through the Cooper Straight, and then the sweeping left-hander of Surtees takes a wide line on entry to give himself the best exit possible. And then into the inner section of the circuit, down underneath the bridge, down the gradient he comes to the right-hander of Hawthorne. And then there's another right-hander of Westfield coming up. Shifting down to third gear, 140 km an hour before applying the throttle again, using the outside curb, not going too far out wide. And then into another right-hander of Sheen, and then the final left-hander of the lap, which is Sterling's. And then the final braking zone in the circuit is Clark Curves as he comes through the section of clearways. Brakes down to third gear, 135 km an hour through Clark Curve, and then down the Brabham Straight, driving all the way to the finish line, and that completes the lap of the Brands Hatch circuit. So thank you for guidance on that, Lego Man. That's very appreciative of you. One of the 4 reserves in for tonight. He was in last week in Misano. Ended that race 15th overall, so hoping to improve on that in Tier 3 this evening. But so far in practice, it's Darskell with a 1 minute 24.9. So he just improved actually. He had set a 1 minute 25 dead, pretty much. 76 tenths adrift. Still early days, of course, so there's still plenty of drivers trying to find as much time as possible, trying to leave as little on the table as possible. Darskell clearly has got the setup right so far, and of course driving ability in the Ferrari. And whilst we were discussing about the driver standings, there's the teams championship as well. We have Finnith Oldies in the lead by just 2 points over SBR T3. So Finnith Oldies had Cord and Yako in their lineup. SBR T3 have Ryan and Cablo in their lineup. Cablo and Ryan are both in. As far as Finn Oldies is concerned, Cord is in, but Yako won't be in tonight as he's informed the server he's contracted COVID-19, so he'll be taking self-isolation this week. So we do wish him all the best and a quick recovery. We hope to see him back for next week's round, which will take place in Bathurst, Mount Panorama, Australia. It's a 10-round championship. We've had Imola, and Darskell spins into the gravel trap on the entry to Sheen, and that'll be him in the garage. Makes sense, it's just improved his lap time as well, so closing down the gap a little bit now between himself and Darskell. He's shrunk it by around about 3/10 or so. We're going back to what I was saying about the calendar. We've had Imola for round 1, Misano for round 2. Tonight is round 3, Brands Hatch. And then we go to Bathurst, Australia in 7 days' time. Then we go to Zolder on November the 8th. Monza, round 6, will stage the second of the 3 special rounds on November the 15th. And then for those on PlayStation 4, we'll be racing at Donington, Kyalami, Port Ricard and Laguna Seca for the season's end. And then those on PS5, we're racing at 4 different circuits within the United States, beginning at Austin, the Circuit of the Americas, on November the 22nd. Then it's the Indianapolis Motor Speedway at the end of the month, followed by a trip to Watkins Glen on December the 6th. And then the final round of the championship will be at Laguna Seca, California on December the 13th. And we should crown our Tier 1, 2 and 3 champions of Taco Tuesday at that point. So essentially coming up behind someone there, not able to improve on his lap time. Lego Man has gone 3rd fastest though in the McLaren, doing a good job there. That car seems to be dialed in so far. Now this Brands Hatch circuit, it's a lovely racetrack, FIA Grade 2. Famous for hosting the Formula Ford Festival, which has been going on for 51 years now. Completed its latest edition about a couple of weeks ago, or a few weeks ago. I think it was during the United States Grand Prix weekend in Austin or something like that. I'd have to double check that. Although the last race it did was cut short by heavy rain, so that wasn't exactly ideal. And British Touring Cars completed its latest edition of 2022. Tom Ingram becoming the newest champion in the series. It was a 4-way decider going into the final few races of its British Touring Car campaign. As well as Tom Ingram, we had Ash Sutton, who's already a 2-time champion in British Touring Cars, Jake Hill, and the 4-time champion, Colin Turkington. They were all in the running for the 2022 cycle. That's all done now. I think pretty much all racing at Brands Hatch has been done for this year. There may be some non-professional racing, let's say, happening in Brands Hatch at some point. But having said that, it is getting dark early now these days. A lot of the world has gone back an hour, so it'll be getting dark earlier than what it had been during the British summertime days. It's now the Greenwich Mean Time days, all the way to the end of March. Those in Europe anyway. Not to mention, Brands Hatch did host the British Grand Prix to alternate with Silverstone as host of it. The last time Formula 1 raced at Brands Hatch was in 1986. Nigel Mansell won that one in front of his home crowd. It was a very emotional one as well, because the wife of the late Sir Frank Williams stood up on the podium to collect the Constructors' Trophy, while Sir Frank was recovering from that horrendous accident that he had in France. Thankfully, he survived it back then. Sadly, no longer with us, but his legacy will for sure linger on in British motorsport history. The most successful team principal in Formula One history, statistically anyway. We will miss you, Sir Frank Williams, for absolutely sure. It's nearly a year now since he's passed. And we've seen a number of drivers making mistakes. You could just see MPL hitting the Armco on the exit of Sheen. Now there's Facco. Survived a late collision with Frank in Misano last week, but still came home to finish in a fine 6th position. We've got 16 in the lobby at the moment now. We should really be seeing a few more come in. And Facco going over the line. I'm not sure if that was an improvement on that lap compared to what he had posted previously. Three and a half minutes to go in practice. This will not determine the grid. This is just an opportunity for the drivers to get used to the circuit with the cars that they have. You can see all the marbles on the off the racing line at Druids. We've got Ryan approaching the line now. Is this going to be an improvement on what he posted before? The answer to that question is no. And we should expect to see some rain momentarily, actually, looking at the radar. I'm sensing not quite improving start time. I think I've noticed, actually, that the track has gone from fast to green, so there's not going to be as much grip on circuit, hence why we're not seeing any improvements in time. I'm not 100% sure on what the situation in regards to the weather is going to be like for both qualifying and the race. If anyone knows about it, I could do with knowing. So MPL approaching the line. Can he improve on his 1:27.4? The answer is no. I've seen another driver going off there, the 841. That'll be LK. And McKenzie crossing over the line, no improvement to his time. Stays where he is. Nick not quite improving either. High grade. He's had a troublesome couple of rounds so far. Suffered connection problems last week, which put him out of sync with everyone else. He was lucky to still be classified in 16th. And the rain has started to fall now as the checker flag is about to be waved. As you can see, Sensi diving into the pit lane. He knows that the session is finished. So, you can see the rain coming down now. I don't know if it's going to be staying there for qualifying. And qualifying is underway now. 17 in the lorry, just seen Lewis Mason make his way in. So we should see a number of drivers coming out on track. And the track is wet. And it's going to remain like that throughout the whole of this session. So, in terms of track grip, understanding how the circuit works, or where to find the grip, is going to be crucial. Mike's just got in as well into the lobby, just in time for qualifying, as Legerman is on circuit now, the only driver on circuit, although we've got the number 4 of Darskell, championship leader. We've got a few other drivers making their way onto the track. Got the 441 of Facco, the 111 of Rhine, got the 83 of Arnian, got the 841 of LK, and we should see a few others leaving the garages to start getting some laps in. They don't have too long, and they won't have many opportunities to get a lap in, especially with the track ramping up as the session goes on. And the good man will be hoping that he doesn't get held up by anyone. So Legerman takes us on a lap. So 13 out of the 18 drivers on circuit make that 14 as Mike goes onto the circuit. Legerman taking it easy through Druids. He'll probably go through there a little bit faster next time. He just wants to make sure he's got a bank a lap in. Down the back straight, heading towards Hawthorns. Legerman coming through. The right-hander of Westfield runs wide there. Will his lap time, has his lap time stayed valid, I wonder? It is at the moment. Go back into where we were. It's gone through the left-hander of Sterling, through clearways, and through the Clark curve, and sprinting all the way down the Brabham Straight. And what is this lap time going to be? It should be like in the 1 minute 32s, I think, at least. It's a 1:34. 1:34.4 for him. But don't be at all surprised to see that lap time come down more and more during the course of this 15-minute session. We've got our second time on board, the Darskell. It's got it down to 1:31.9. So it's clearly found a lot of time. Seems to be on the right setup at the moment. This is Arnian in the McLaren. What's this lap time going to produce? It's a 1 minute 34.2, which puts him second, but over 2 seconds off the pace of Darskell. So Darskell's first time lap in these wet conditions has proved to be a blinder so far. We've got the 3-2-1 of Frank coming through next. Is this going to be a lap going on the board? Yep, second fastest, 1 minute 32.9. Frank going on to the front row provisionally. There's still a lot of drivers yet to post a lap time so far. Cablo over the line, and he does not move up the order on that occasion. We are seeing more drivers cross over the line. Lego Man is crossing over. Is he going to improve on the lap time before? Yes, he does. It's now a 1 minute 33.4, and that moves him up into third place. Only 6 drivers have produced a lap time so far. MPL in 6th place, displaced now by Pedro, who moves ahead of him. So Pedro producing a 1 minute 35.7. Goes on to the third row for the time being. This is LK coming through. Sterling doesn't take the best line through there, unfortunately. The track is getting damp at the moment, so the track could well be getting faster. Arnian is crossing over the line now. What is his time going to be? Is it an improvement on last time? The answer to that question is no. And LK goes up to second place. That's a very good lap time to put him on the front row at the moment. 1 minute 32.5 for him in the BMW. I've got the 3-2-1. If I can find it. Frank, who improves to second place, so he goes back to the front row. 1 minute 32.3. And we've got another driver across the demo. It's the 876, I believe, of high grade, who moves up into 4th position. So the lap time's improving. Lap by lap, Cablo moving up to 5th place now in the Bentley. And we've just seen another driver behind him also getting a lap time on the board. Facco currently in 9th place at the moment. And Lego Man now goes onto the front row. Just 2 tenths away from pole position that is set by Darskell. And Cord up to 8th now. Munoz, who's one of the reserve drivers this evening, goes into 10th position on a 1 minute 34.3. That puts them into the top 10. We've still got 4 more drivers yet to post a lap time at the moment. McSensi, who's second place in the championship, he looks as though he's on a lap at the moment. Grills is still in the pits by the looks of things, so not sure what's going on there. Lewis Mason, who wasn't here last week in Misano, he's on a fast lap. Runs wide there, though, through Graham Hill Bend. Mike is on a fast lap. So we've got LK going over the line. No improvement on the lap he's just done. He stays in 4th position. We've got Ryan, though, not in a good position to where he should be. He's 12th at the moment, and he stays 12th. We've got the 3-2-1. Franco goes fastest now. 1 minute 31.2. That's over 6 tenths faster than what Darskell has produced. That must mean the track is far quicker than it used to be at the beginning of the session. So Darskell will be aware of that, and he needs to find some time on this lap. Just come away from him there. Hopefully we'll get back onto him before his lap is done. He's going faster than before, although he's run wide through Westfield, so that'll be his lap done there, so we'll have to find some time and go again. So Frank on provisional pole position at the moment. McSensi going up into 3rd place. Pulls over to the side. He'll probably come back in and get another set of tyres on, I would have thought. High grade 7th at the moment. Facco 8th. 2 seconds off the pace. He's coming out of clearways though. Is this going to be an improvement on his previous lap? He could do with an improvement, but he's a long way away from high grade in 7th place. He moves up to 5th. So he was around about 8 tenths faster than his previous lap time. That means Facco up into 5th place in the second of the Ferraris. Arnian moving up to 7th place in the McLaren now. So he's improving. Grills is still in the pits. Mason has gone for a spin on the exit of Druids. So that's that lap ruined. Mike on circuit. Not sure if he's actually on a lap at the moment. Frank is coming over the line right now, I'd have thought. Still no improvement on his lap time at the moment, but he's still on provisional pole position. He's got the 1:30 going over the line. Pedro moving up to 13th place. There was a small improvement, but enough to move him up the order at least. Ryan down to 14th place. This is lower than we expected him to be, so we should expect him to be in the top 5, not down in 14th place. MPL starting another lap at the moment. He's struggling there in 15th place, well off the pace in comparison to the others. Got the just had another driver over the line, Cord up to 5th place now, displacing Facco. Got the 525 Legerman crossing over the line to begin a fast lap. He was in the pits a moment ago, so he's just beginning another lap now. Behind him is the 333 of Maners, who's in 11th position. I think he was able to improve on his lap time before. Darskell goes back to the top with a 1:30.3, nearly a whole second faster than what Frank had posted before. So lap times are continuing to improve minute by minute. Metsensi is now nearly 2 seconds off the pace in comparison to the provisional pole position time. 8:41 is coming over the line now. LK's just been displaced. Is he able to move back up the order though? The answer is no. So he stays where he is. We've got the 777 going over the line. Metsensi, I think it was. Was it Metsensi? It was. It was not an improvement. I'll tell you who has improved. It's Ryan. Back up into 4th place. That's more like it from him. So the McLaren on to the 2nd row. High grade moving up to 3rd place as well. So he's had a good qualifying session. As we speak, this is Legerman coming through. Sterling, and now to the left-hander. No, that's the right. Yeah. No, it's the right-hander of Sheen, and then the left-hander of Sterling, I should say. Legerman approaching clearways through the Clark curve. Now he was 1.7 seconds off the pace in comparison to Darskell. Is this an improvement in lap time? Yes, it is. And it's enough to move him on to the 2nd row. He improved by around about a second to what he had posted previously. So that's a very, very strong effort from Legerman to go up into 3rd place. So High grade down to 4th, Ryan down to 5th, McSensi down to 6th. Facco is coming through in the Ferrari. Is this an improvement in lap time? The answer to that is no, it's not. He stays 8th quickest. We've got the 83 of Arnian approaching the Brabham straight now. 2.2 seconds off the pace in comparison to Darskell. Could do with an improvement. Is it an improvement? Not on that occasion. But we have seen an improvement from LK. Up to 7th place he goes. Very, very good effort. We've got the 42 coming through of Mason, who's just started a flying lap. We'll go to the 82 of Grills, who hasn't posted a lap time yet. I think he's on his out lap, thinking of it. So this could well be his last chance. He may get 2 shots at it. Mike goes up to 16, so it's a very unrepresentative lap time he's just posted, so nothing to really celebrating about. You can see up into 4th place ahead of High grade, so High grade has just stopped on circuit. So back in the pits he goes. Is he going to be able to get out in time, get over the line before the checker flag falls? Or get over the line before the checker flag falls? So the gap between Darskell and Frank has cut down a little, just under 8 tenths, but Darskell is the man in control. The championship point going his way as it stands, and he's just improved that lap time to 1:29.7. So he's managed to find another half a second. Back in the pits, that could well be his session done. Ryan back in the pits. He'll probably be disappointed with that effort of 8th, as drivers are continuing to find time left, right and centre. LK, is he going to improve on his lap time from before? Yes, he does, and he goes on to the front row. Where has he managed to find all that time? 2nd fastest right now is LK, although Frank has gone back onto the front row. It's a brilliant effort from LK, and that must mean the track is improving massively. So could Darskill's pole position be under threat here? We've got the 41 coming through next. That's Cord. He'll get one more shot at it. Coming into turn 1. We've got the 393 coming through next. That's MPL. In the BMW. And that lap time was not enough to see him move up the order. Stays 13th. Got the 525 of Legerman next. What's he going to produce? It's not an improvement, but he's got one more shot at it. These laps could make all the difference, although Legerman has stopped on circuit, presumably out of fuel. So that'll be his qualifying session done. No higher than 4th he will be. There is Nick, who's not going very quick at the moment. I think he's just trying to slow down so that he doesn't need to do another lap after the checker flag has fallen. So what about the others? We should see some improvements in lap time. We're still seeing some drivers on circuit at the present moment. There's McSenty, who's about to complete his final lap. Is it an improvement on before? Yes, it is! Second fastest. So 2.5 tenths away from pole position. McSenty onto the front row of the grid. And I think that is that, unless we can see an improvement in lap times. Here's Cord, trying to find as much time as possible on this lap he's about to put in. Does he improve on 10th place? He does. Goes up to 7th position. We've got one more driver who's about to cross over the line, and that is MPL. So let's see what he can put in. Is it an improvement? It is an improvement in lap time. Moves up to 12th place ahead of Nick. So at the end of that session, it is Darskill on pole position by 1/4 of a second over Mackenzie, and it's Frank in 3rd place, LK 4th ahead of Legerman and Highgrade. Cord and Facco make up the 4th row of the grid ahead of Cablo and Ryan in 9th and 10th. Arnian and MPL are next behind it in 11th and 12th. Nick and Maners in 13th and 14th places. And we've got Pedro and Mike, the last of those to set a lap time. Grills and Lewis Mason didn't set a lap time at all during the course of that session. So another championship point going Darskill's way. 3 pole positions out of 3 so far in Tier 3 Taco Tuesday. But we've got the 90-minute race coming up very, very shortly. So we're just seeing the 83 of Arnian making his way back into the pits. And very shortly we should see the drivers back onto the grid for the start of the formation lap. And whilst we are waiting for the race to get underway, just want to take a moment to mention all the other leagues that the Formula Racing League do. We've got mixed Mondays, that's at 9 PM UK time. Taco Tuesday, that begins at 8:30. That's what we're doing this evening. We've got the late night Vodka Slammers. Presumably that's on a Wednesday, unless I'm mistaken. Then we've got GT4 Thursday at 9 PM, followed by the late night Tequila Slammers. I think that's at 11 PM as well. I think the late night Vodka Slammers may be a Tuesday as well. We've got the Endurance Friday event. I think that's a PC event for those who are into Assetto Corsa on PC. That's at 8 PM. And then finally we've got the GT3 Sunday event at 10 PM UK time. You can find out all the details on the Formula Racing League website. It's in the YouTube description. There's also the Discord link to the league's server. And of course, they've got a Facebook page of which you can follow and keep right up to date with everything you need to know in terms of all the events and all the results that happen during the course of the week. It's very fun. A lot of fun. Prizes on offer, I would imagine, as well. And don't forget to like and subscribe as well in case you are watching. So the Formula Racing League has been going on since the beginning of last year, I would have thought. So Brands Hatch has played host to a number of different motorsport series. It's played host, well, it currently plays host to the British Truck Racing Championship that they do in April. In May, they host the GT World Challenge, British Touring Cars, the British F4 Championship, Porsche Carrera Cup, Great Britain, the FIA Masters Historic Formula 1 Championship. They've got the NASCAR Wheel and Euro Series in June, along with the TCR UK Touring Championship, or Touring Car Championship, I should say. Then the British Superbike Championship in July, along with the Brands Hatch Super Prix. In September, they've got the British GT, GP3 and GP4 Championships. And finally, well, in October, they've got the season finale of the British Touring Car Championship, along with the British F4 Championship. Then another round of British Superbikes, Porsche Carrera Cup, Great Britain. And finally, in November, there's the British Truck Racing Championship and the Brands Hatch Night Races, along with the Formula Ford Festival that takes place either at the end of October or the beginning of November. I would say it's probably towards the end of October before the clocks go back. And previously they used to host A1 GP races. Hosted the very first one back in 2005 and the very last round of it back in 2009, before the series was liquidated. It's also played host to rounds. I think it hosted the season finale of the inaugural W Series in 2019, Jamie Chadwick becoming champion that day. We've got also DTM that has hosted rounds at Brands Hatch. And of course, most famously, Formula 1. Last time the race here was in 1986. He used to alternate with Silverstone, has hosted the British Grand Prix. He even hosted two races as the European Grand Prix, one in 1983 and the other in 1985. The one in 1985 was where Nigel Mansell won his very first Grand Prix, the first of his 31 Grand Prix victories of his career. We've got 18 drivers on the grid then, ready for the start of the formation lap, and judging by the radar, we should see within the next 10 minutes of the rain stopping. And we should see a lot of pit lane activity once we start to see that crossover between being on intermediates and dries. Darskill is on pole position, ahead of McSenty, and it's Frank and LK, Legerman and Highgrade on the third row, followed by Cord and Facco. Cablo and Ryan make up the fifth row. And we've got Arnian, MPL on row 6, Nick and Maners on the 7th row, ahead of Pedro and Mike. And at the back row, we've got Grills and Mason. I'm just been told that Grills is in the pit still and will so start the race from the pit lane. And we saw Gatecrusher come through the field a little bit after starting in the pit lane at Misano last week. So out of the 17 that competed last week, he was able to come through and finish in 13th, which wasn't too bad of an effort because he had a long gap to make up in the early stages before the pit stops opened, and he took advantage of other people's errors and he was able to scrape a good points finish out of it. And we are now seeing that Highgrade is in the pits as well, so he's another one that's going to be starting from the pit lane. That's a huge shame. Now he was he 4th on the grid? No, he was 6th on the grid, was Highgrade. So now he's going to be starting from the pit lane, which is a huge, huge shame. So we'll be seeing two drivers starting from the pit lane. I'll be interested to know what actually has happened involving Highgrade. He has suffered connection issues last week, and I don't suppose it's a repeat of it this week so far. Hopefully not tonight anyway. So Darskill leading the field round. It's a 90-minute special this evening instead of the 60-minute as usual. 2 mandatory pit stops. You can take those pit stops at any time you like, and I think considering the weather we have, that's potentially changeable, could well be the decisive moments in terms of which drivers will take whatever pit stops, or whenever they take their pit stops as their mandatory ones. They've got to pit twice anyway, otherwise it will be an automatic disqualification. So Darskell leading the field rounds, lining up in formation, preparing to go for the start. We should be looking at around about, I would say, 58 or 59 laps in total. Darskell just slow him down so that he doesn't go too far ahead of the pack. When the green flag falls, we'll be racing here in Brands Hatch. And we are underway. Darskell, does he react well to the lights? I think he has done. He's got McSenty to his left-hand side, so you want to cover the inside as well as they go into turn one. Frank is in there as well, but Frank spins! Frank has spun! Frank has spun in front of the pack, and he's got hit from behind, and he's collected another car as well! Carnage at Paddock Hill Bend. Here in Brands Hatch on the first lap, there'll be some cars heading into the pit lane at the end of the lap. I wouldn't be at all surprised if Frank does. My goodness me, he nearly took out 2 or 3 cars with him. He was very much in a dangerous area, but Darskell leads then as they come through Surtees for the first time. And he's got Macenti behind in second place, and behind him is the BMW of LK in third position, Legoman in fourth place, and it's the Audi of Cord in fifth as they go through the first sector. Paco, Cablo and Ryan are next behind. High Grade and Grills have exited the pillar. We've just seen an overtake actually as Legoman. Oh, they've got carnage. Someone's off in the background. It looks like Cord has spun. He's hit the barrier. Is that his race over? He's reversing out of there. So 2 separate collisions, all that one here at Brands Hatch. Frank at Paddock Hill Bend, and it looks like Cord and Legoman have come together on the exit of Hawthorns. Well, there's Darskell then, coming out of Clearways, and he's going to lead the field. At the end of lap 1, he's not got a comfortable margin. McSenty will keep him honest in the early stages before we start to see the track improve. It's saying that it's greasy at the moment. It's not quite time to make the change to dries just yet, as we watch Arnian and Ryan battle over 7th place as they come into Paddock Hill Bend. Ryan round the outside of the McLaren. 2 McLarens going into combat as they go into Druids. Ryan has the outside line, Arnian has the inside line, but Ryan will have the high ground on the exit, and will have the inside line as they come up to Graham Hill Bend, and that is the McLaren of Ryan passing the 83 of Arnian, and into 7th place he goes. And we've got 3 cars in the pits. MPL in, Frank in, High Grade also in. He clearly must have picked up damage on that opening lap and has left himself with far too much work to do. I suppose the blessing of that is that they'll have made one of their mandatory pit stops. So we should expect to see the graphics of 2 where the orange caption is where next to where the driver numbers are. That should change from 2 to 1 by the time they leave their boxes. So you can see MPL still sorting out the damage that's there. Darskell leads, 1.5 seconds clear of McSenty in second place. We've just seen High Grade lead the pits now. He's almost a lap behind though. And I think MPL has exited his box. And Frank should have left the box as well, so he's done. And I think McSenty's in already. Now that's interesting. At the end of lap 2, McSenty's in and he's gambling to go onto a set of dry tyres, I assume. That is very, very interesting. I don't know if he's looked at the radar, but is he preempting that the track is drying and he's going on to 6? Well, you've just seen Darskell run wide there on the exit of Graham Hill Bend. He's probably not worrying too much. You can see the rain is still coming down at the moment. Darskell having a... just tiptoeing his way... I don't want to say tiptoeing his way around. He's taking it comfortably at this early stage. There is a long way to go yet in this one. LK is now in second place with Legoman third. Or third, I should say. Faco fourth. Followed by Cablo, Ryan, Arnian, Nick, Pedro and Miners. Your top 10 at the present moment. McSenty has completed his stop now. He's on his way. He'll have clear track ahead of him, so shouldn't be too much of an issue. But he's got bad news line ahead of him. He's come through the pit lane too quickly and has been given a 30-second stop and go penalty. So Mercedes race after a brilliant qualifying earlier. Hard work come undone, and it looks as though someone has disconnected. I'm not sure who that was. I think it might have been KL that's disconnected. So KL, who was in second place, has lost connection. That's really bad news. I hope he gets back in time so he stays in sync in the race. And whilst I say that, Darskell, the race leader, is into the pits. So Darskell going on to a set of dry tyres. Is he doing it to get a mandatory pit stop out of the way? I would assume so. But surely the track isn't dry enough for the dries yet, or is it? It may well be. So he's clearly preempting the weather. Is Darskell, the championship leader. So Legerman is your race leader then, with Facco in second place. The lead changing all the time. You can see drivers struggling now. That's Legerman running wide and Facco running wide even more. And Cablo is going to go past him into what is now second place in the Bentley as they come through Surtees. Onion isn't too far behind either, and neither will Ryan. We've seen Grills in the pits to take one of his mandatory pit stops, and McSenty coming in to get his stop and go penalty out of the way. Just hope he's slowed down in time on this occasion. Yeah, you can see the dry line forming now, so yeah, it's definitely time for the dry tyres. I'd be interested to see where Darskell is rejoined. Now, having said that, McSenty is serving that stop and go penalty, so Darskell will get out ahead of McSenty on this occasion. Is he going to get out in front of Legerman, maybe? There's going to be plenty of pit lane activity. Legerman stays out, so does Cablo and Facco. I think they're gambling in the anticipation of another shower later on in the race to take their first mandatory pit stops. We've just seen Cablo coming up behind one of the back markers. He's run wide. Facco is off as well, and that allows Arnian into third place. So Arnian through, Facco struggling to keep the car on the racetrack as we speak. Legerman keeping going at the moment. Manus in the pits for the first of his two mandatory pit stops. There's plenty of activity going on. I've seen a difference in strategies at the moment, and Frank has just done his second mandatory pit stop. That's very early to take it. I mean, I know the track is dry right now, but surely Frank is going to be too far out of sync with the others. Unless he pitted first time around for the wets when he came in for repairs, and now he's going on to a set of dries. He's done his second mandatory pit stop now as Frank, but he's too far behind the leaders. Even at this early stage of the race, he will struggle to finish in the top 10 by the end of it. So Legerman in the lead at the moment. Cablo closing in all the time. You can see how much faster he is at the present moment. Did he start the race on dries, I wonder, Cablo? Because he's gained so much on Legerman, and you can see he's finding so much time. Clearly a lot faster than everyone else. Legerman into the pits then for his first stop. I'd be interested to know if Cablo is on the dry tyres. We can have a look to see whether he actually started the race on the dry tyres or not. You can see he's going a lot quicker at the moment, but he'll have a lot of fuel on board as well, so I'd be tempted to say he may well be on the dry tyres. If so, he would have had to tiptoe his way round in the opening few laps on the tyres that he's been on since the start. So, if I'm wrong, then correct me, but he's going a lot faster than everyone else. Arnian is over 5 seconds behind him at the moment. Ryan and Pedro are also in the pits for their first stops. Frank back in the pits. Not sure what's going on with him. This is his third stop of the race already. LK's back in now, but he's a few laps behind. But I'm sure he'll take it at this stage. He will just want to get as many points as possible from this, like Highgrade did last week in Masana when he disconnected whilst he was in the lead temporarily for his connection issues kicked in. But there's your race leader in your picture, Cablo, out in front in the Bentley, and he's continuing to stay out. I'd be tempted to say he is on the dry tyres at this moment in time. I'm just trying to see if he's, in terms of the lap times he's showing, that was a 1:29.8 he had posted. Now, on a heavy fuel load like he's on, I think he is definitely on the dries. That's his best lap of the race so far, and he's continuing to find time. Facco, Nick and Mason also in the pits. To go on to slicks, Mike also coming in, so this will promote Darskill up into 4th position. So we've got plenty of drivers in the pits. MPL also in the pits. I think to get the second and final mandatory stop out of the way. So there's Cablo coming up behind High Grade, who's running in 13th place. Well, LK's back in the race now. He's back on track, but that won't count. That time in the pits won't count as his mandatory pit stop, unfortunately. We are expecting rain within the next 20 to 30 minutes. That's what Cablo will be thinking about, and he's nearly 10 seconds clear of everyone else. Absolutely flying. And Mason and Mike are exiting the pits now. Mason down in 12th place, Mike in 13th. Just seeing High Grade move up to 11th place. Darskill in 4th place at the moment, behind the top 3 who have yet to stop. So Darskill, who's won the opening 2 rounds this season, is his 100% running starts the season under threat as Cablo puts a lap on High Grade as they go through 30s. High Grade should know that he's in a strong position. He started from the pit lane, remember. He's managed to find his way up into 11th position and has made one of his mandatory pit stops. Cablo hasn't pitted yet, so High Grade is in a strong position compared to where he was after that disastrous beginning where for some reason he just didn't take the formation lap like the others, and he started from the pit lane instead of his 6th position on the grid. And we are expecting not just rain, but heavy rain as well. So Cablo just wants to stretch the stint on the dries as much as possible before he comes in for his first stop. MPL and Frank have both made their mandatory stops now, but they're so far behind, I can't think that they're going to finish in the top 10 by the end of this race, but I could well be wrong. There's a long way to go. It's been quite a dramatic opening 12 minutes of the race. Frank having his melodies at the beginning, taking out 2 cars, all 3 of which needing to pit for repairs, and we had a coming together between Cord and Lego Man on the exit of Westfield, or Hawthorne, I should say, as Onion comes in. So Onion pits in from 2nd place. That'll promote Cord up into 2nd place then. Now Cord is coming through, and Ryan is so far behind actually, so I think Onion is going to rejoin ahead of Ryan in 4th position. He'll have taken that at the beginning of the race. Cablo. Now that last lap he set was a 1:28.6. That's his best lap of the race so far. So as the track is improving, he's able to find time lap by lap by lap. Now I don't know for certain whether it's going to become dry in the latter stages of the race. We're going to only see the radar up to the next 30 minutes. And Ryan, Facco and Nick have got past Onion now. Pedro is coming down, but Onion is exiting the pit lane now in 7th place. Legoman in the pits for his 2nd mandatory stop. It's early to do that, if I'm honest with you. I think we could well see multiple drivers doing at least 3 or 4 pit stops during the course of this race, which is going to make for incredible activity, a lot of action during the course of this 90-minute special. Well, it's certainly living up to its name, isn't it? MPL back in the pits. A third stop. Now, is this going to be... Has he got damage to that car, I wonder? Is he going to stop there for good? Or is he actually going to make a change of tyres or whatever? Well, Frank is through into 16th place either way. So only two or three drivers, I should say, three drivers have yet to make a mandatory stop at this race. Cablo and Cord, the top two, and LK right at the back in 18th place. The track is green now, and we should expect it to be fast within the next 5 minutes or so until the rain returns. And someone's gone for a spin. It's the 83, I think. Who's off in the gravel there? I think that's Arnian has gone off into the gravel, so that's him down a lap now on the leader. Arnian making a mistake there out of clearways. So Darskell coming in third, exiting Sterling. He's a long way off the lead at the moment. It's a long way off the lead at the moment. You can see there as Cablo extending the margin over everyone else. He's run about 40 seconds behind, I think, is Darskell. He's 13.5 seconds behind Cord, who's just going through. So to see, yes, I think Darskell's around about 35 seconds behind off the lead, and that's because Cablo hasn't pitted yet. And so far, so good. I think, in terms of the favourite to win this race, I still think Darskell has got everything in his locker to come back. So Cablo's lap time there was a 1:28.6. That's his best lap of the race so far. I just want to compare it to what Cord is producing. He's crossing over the line right now. That's a 1:28.3. So Cord was able to close back the margin a little bit as we speak. We'll go to Darskell next. He's on the Brabham straight. And he posts his best lap of the race, 1:27.2, which is around about 1.4 seconds faster than the race leader. So if he continues going at the pace he's going, Darskell, he could well be leading the race in about 20 laps or so time, depending on when Cablo decides to pit. And we should expect rain within the next 10 minutes now. So Cablo can afford to just take these tyres as far as they can and just take every bit of life out of them, because he knows he's going to be pitting for the wets later, or intermediates, whichever, or the all-weather tyres. "21 seconds is the gap he's got over Cord. And it looks like someone has exited the race. I think it's Frank who's lost connection. So that could well be Frank out of it by the end of this one. He may decide to get back in as we watch Mason get past Arnian now. I think Vicenti's just got past Arnian as well. So Vicenti, after taking that stop and go penalty earlier on, is fighting his way back. He's out of position to where he should be. There's a long way to go yet, as I've already said. In fact, the lap time that Vicenti has posted, just want to find him again. currently in 10th place. It's a 1:27.1. I think that's his best. That's the best lap of the race so far. So yeah, he's definitely finding time as quickly as he can and making up for lost time. So Cablo's lead is being narrowed down a little bit more now. It's down to 20.8 seconds. Darskell is a further 9.5 seconds behind, so Darskell's just 30 seconds off the lead. And Darskell will be on fresher tyres. I'm just seeing Ryan there in 4th position. Is a long way off the lead, but a relatively good position. There's Nurse, who's running a strong 7th. And Sensei closing in on Mason in the battle for 9th place. And Cablo has responded now, although Cord might have made a mistake of his own, because the gap between him and Darskell is down to 8 seconds. So we could well see a battle for 2nd place very, very shortly. So Kenty is not behind the Ferrari of Mason, and Mason runs wide. He's off, and Mason has spun in the gravel trap. And that's going to lose him even more time, I should say. Onion goes through. Mike should go through as well, although I think Mason has rejoined the circuit. Yeah, it was a bad mistake that by Mason. Under pressure too much from Masensi behind. Masensi's through into 9th place now. Next up ahead of him is Pedro in the Ferrari. Nick, who's had a quiet race so far in the BMW, but I'm sure they've taken it at the beginning because he's running in 6th place. Oh, and the 525 has gone for a spin. Is that Lego Man? It is. Oh, he just stays out of the way of the other drivers that don't want to be collecting another car as you rejoin there. So Lego Man already a long way behind the others. He's done his mandatory pit stops, but he'll be back in the pit soon, I would have thought, because the rain is going to be coming back. And High Grade into the pits for his 2nd mandatory pit stop. That was a bit earlier, I would have thought. Maybe wait until the rain returned. And Darskell posting looks to be the fastest up of the race so far. 1:26.1, although that was on. He's got hold of the fastest lap at the moment. There's no points for the fastest lap. As Darskell nearly dropping it there on the exit of Westfield. Still continues anyway. Cablo on lap 16. 21 seconds was the last gap we saw between him and Cord, and one that the gap is right now over the 41. It's 22.9, so he's able to extend the margin, but Darskell will be continuing to close in all the time on the Audi. The gap now down, well, in fact Darskell's lost time behind the back markers because it's now 9.4 seconds. The last time I saw it was 8. High Grade still in the pits at the moment. You can see the windscreen wipers still active. And there's a stop and go penalty for 876. That'll be High Grade, so that'll be him into the pits. It's been another troublesome afternoon for the Mercedes AMG driver. That'll be him into the pit lane very shortly again. Cablo coming up behind Manurse. Let's put a lap on him. Up the inside, no problem. Now, I've just seen, I think Fucko, has he moved ahead of Nick now? I think he has, and I wonder if Nick has made a mistake somewhere, or maybe it's just me looking at a different battle to where it should have been. Well, makes sense, he's got in front of Pedro now into 8th place. Next man ahead of him is Manurse, who's another 13 seconds off the road, maybe a little bit more than that. Gap coming down to 7.1 seconds between Darskell in 3rd and Cord in 2nd. The track is green at the moment. Track temperature 21 degrees, air temperature 15. We've got a car going for a spin there. That's Arnian in the McLaren. That's 2 spins he's had now. High grade into the pits to serve his stop and go for speeding in the pit lane earlier. He'll fall behind MPL. He'll go down another lap by the leader of Cablo. So Cablo has completed 17 laps now. I think by the time High Grade has done his stop, he'll have done 14 laps. Already 3 laps behind at least. Cablo is still yet to stop, as is Cord, but Darskell has completed 1 mandatory stop, so he's firm favourite to win this race now. And High Grade rejoining in front of LK. Or is he behind LK? I think he might be behind him actually. LK did have his connection problems earlier, hence why he's so far out of sync. I don't think Frank is going to be coming back into the lobby anytime soon, so that is his session done, the first retirement of the race. And the gap between Cablo in the lead and Cord in second, 23.5 seconds. Darskell another 4.3 back. And have we got a car in the pits, or is that just on the entry to Graham Hill Bend that I can hear? I think it's the latter. You can see Cord has just been overtaken. Oh no, that's I was thinking of another Ferrari that's gone by him. I think that may be, is that Lewis Mason ahead of him? It is, yeah. I think that's Cord just putting a lap on him. And talking Richard back markers, Cablo is about to put one on the 393 of MPL, who's already a long way back. So nearly 28 minutes in. This is lap 19. Cablo out in the lead. And the rain should start to fall any moment. So we'll be seeing those windscreen wipers being used very, very soon. So the championship leader in 3rd place on track. And the rain has returned now onto the circuit. So the track is going to be very wet in a moment, and it's going to get heavier in about half an hour's time. So who's going to be able to keep their cars on the circuit? 29 minutes in. As Mason runs wide there, Pedicle Bend stays out of the way of the third place driver. Sensi closing in on Maners all the time in the fight for 7th place. Vines in 4th, Facco 5th, and Nick closing in. And Cablo, who in the opening 2 rounds has finished 11th at Imola and 9th in Misano, running in P1 as we speak. Ryan's in the pit. Ryan's in the pits then for a set of wets or intermediates, whichever, maybe the all-weather tyres. This will be the second and last mandatory stop he makes, so he could go to the end if he wanted to. "30 minutes in, and Darskall's now just a couple of seconds behind Cord, unless he's got ahead of him already. He hasn't yet. So 2.1 was the gap in the last sector between Cord and Darskall. It's down to 1.7. Ryan is exiting the pits now. And he'll be joined behind Mason in 10th place as Grills comes in. He's got damage to the bonnet there. So this will be the last mandatory stop he makes. And McSensy's got in front, has he now? I think he got in front of Ryan because Ryan was in the pits. He's closing on Nurse, the gap between those two down to just under 6 seconds. Darskall closing in on Cord in the fight for the runners-up spot in this race. And Cablo's in. I'm not surprised. This is his first stop of the race. And he'll be into his box right now. Grills hasn't left the box yet, and Cord has gone into the lead for the time being, but he's got Darskall looming in behind. He may decide to go for it. Cord didn't get the best of exits coming out of Paddock Bend. He covers the inside, so Darskall goes all the way around the outside. Does Cord cover it on the exit? He can't, and Darskall's going to go into the lead here as they come into Graham Hill Bend. Cord round the outside but can't hold it. Darskall back into the lead, runs wide on the exit of Graham Hill Bend, but he's kept it all together, is now into the lead of this race here in Brands Hatch. It's a super move there, and a drive-through penalty has been dished out to car 84, and that's Cablo for speeding in the pit lane. That's a bad blow in his attempt to go for the race victory. That's wiped out any chance of it now. That's for certain. Darskall's still got a mandatory stop to make as Nick comes in for the second mandatory pit stop of his race. Mason and Onion are in the pits as well. And PL also in for a change of tyres. He's had too many pit stops in this race. Well out of sync to the leaders. Darskall pits for wets, but Cord stays out. That's quite a gamble he's taking. I don't know if he knows that Cablo has got a drive-through that he has to take. I'll tell you what, he's not going very quick at the moment. Has he got a problem with that car, I wonder? Oh, he's got a serious issue. The car's struggling to turn into Westfield. And this is not the kind of pace where he should expect Cablo to be going at. He is really struggling. Has he got the wrong tyres on, I wonder? If he has, that's made his situation even worse. horrible, absolutely horrible for him. And Ryan not quite stopping in his box at the moment, unless I'm mistaken. But Darskell rejoins the race in second place, and he's also got a drive-through penalty as well. So Darskell, the championship leader, has been given a drive-through penalty for speeding in the pit lane. So we've got two of the leaders in this race being dished out drive-throughs for going too quickly into the pit lane here at Brands Hatch. That is incredible. And that pretty much has saved Cord's race, because he's still yet to make a pit stop in this one. His bacon could be saved by the drive-throughs of which Cablo and Darskell have to take. Well, Cord's coming into the pit lane now, but he needs to be very, very cautious into his mark there. 50 kilometers an hour is the pit lane speed limit. You go even 0.1 of a kilometre over it, and you will be given a drive-through penalty at the minimum. So Cablo into the pits to take his drive-through. I think he stops in his mark, actually. I'm not sure this is going to count as his mandatory, as his drive-through, so we'll have to wait and see on that. Plenty of cars in the pit lane to make the switch to the wet tyres. So who's going to lead this race then? Well, at the moment, Darskell's in second place on track. But I reckon Cord could still be in the lead, because Darskell is going to be serving his drive-through very, very shortly. Look at him sliding his way through clearways, and there he is, he's into the pit lane. And I've got another drive-through. Is that a stop and go being dished out? It is. Mason has been given a 30-second stop and go penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Even worse than a drive-through. Facco also in, so Cord will keep hold of the race lead, and into second place should still be Darskell. That's that out of the way now. Could have been a lot worse, that, for him. And yeah, and Cablo, who was leading most of this race, he's really struggling at the moment. I don't know whether he's got the right tyres on or he's got the setup right. He hasn't taken his drive-through yet, because he was taking his mandatory stop in that last occasion he was in the pits for. And he's going to fall even further back once this drive-through penalty has been taken. McSenzie in the pits, Manurse in the pits as well. Facco should rejoin in third place. Cord at the moment, he's not the favourite to win this race. Darskell is. And look at that, Cord absolutely struggling. He struggled to turn that car into Hawthorns, and is struggling to get it through Westfield as well. He is really, really struggling. I don't know whether these tyres are in temperature or in the optimum window, but that car is not going as quickly as it should be. Look at that, he's running wide again through Sheen. And behind him is that Cablo behind him? Yeah, it is. So Cablo's going quicker than Cord at the moment, so that could well explain it. Facco rejoins in third place ahead of Nick. McSensie's in fifth now. Manurse is just exiting the pit lane because Cablo is taking his drive-through penalty. So he will keep hold of sixth position. Cord is about to put a lap on him, but Cord will be back in the pits soon. I will be serving a second pit stop in this race. So Cablo will be taking his drive-through penalty. And he's cleared that out of the way now, and he's rejoins in 7th place. What a terrible, terrible shame. Mason in the pits to serve his stop and go. High grade also in for a change of tyres. Grills in the pits. That moves LK up a position into 16th place. So Cord, he's got a 7.7 second lead. Mason's penalty is now cleared. Confirmation on the screen. You can see his tyres are coming into the window, but Darskell will be closing down the gap all the time. So we should expect heavy rain very soon as well, which will make it even more tricky for the drivers. Yeah, we've just seen that the track has changed from greasy to wet. You don't need a weather forecaster to tell you that. You can tell by what you're seeing in your picture. The rain coming down all the time. So we are expecting a period of 20 minutes of heavy rain very soon. We're into the sort of light rain period at the moment. So 2 drivers have yet to take their final mandatory pit stops. That's the race leader in your picture, Cord, in the Audi, and LK, who's in 16th place in the BMW. And Grills is still in the pits at the moment. He's been in there for a long time. .7 seconds is the gap. Arnian has just got in front of Ryan, I think. Unless Mike has got ahead of the pair of them. Mike having a quiet race so far. Now Mike, who is one of the reserve drivers, is doing a fine job there in 9th place. He started at the back of the field, but he's come through nicely without too much drama. And we're just watching High Grade coming through. He's trying to get himself back into the action by getting back on the same lap as the leaders, really, but he's too far behind to even think about that. And Arnian running wide, and that allows High Grade to go through. And now we're seeing Ryan trying to make a move on Mike, and High Grade trying to unlap himself from these two. And Arnian running wide again there at Sterling, that won't help him. And the gap between Cord and Darskell down to just under 5 seconds. As Mason goes through, unlapping himself from Arnian. So there's Cord in the lead. 4.3 seconds. Facco in 3rd place. Sensi not too far behind, Nick not too far behind also. So the top 5 are on the lead lap. So we're into the heavy rain period now. We should expect to stay like this for the next 20 minutes or so. And then a period of light rain and maybe a period of dry running before the checkered flag. Oh, look at that. Cord has carried too much speed into Panico Bend, and this should be Darskell moving into the lead, but he's also off. Unbelievable. The top 2 have gone off the track at Panico Bend. Well, it's not like Darskell making a mistake, as you would thought, the championship leader. Well, we did say that the rain was coming down relentlessly, but we didn't expect the top 2 to fall off the circuit like we've just seen there. We've got another driver off at Sheen. It's the 876 of High Grade. He's gone off. Oh, he's got a big problem. That's the bonnet heavily damaged. And that'll be in the pits at the end of the lap. Or is he calling it a day? He's staying out of the way of the other drivers. I think this is High Grade's race over. He has gone off big time. He's had a very, very big shunt. And it looks like Darskell... Has Darskell gone off again? Well, Cord is pulled away again. Darskell is absolutely struggling. Well, I can tell you the gap is going to be more than 5 seconds. And High Grade should go into the pit lane at the end of this lap. He is in the pits now. Absolutely horrible lap he's had. And Grills looks like he's not rejoined the circuit, so I think that's him out of the race. Unfortunately, High Grade could well be joining him. Now does Cord take it steady through Paddock Hill Burn? He does so this time. And I would expect Darskill to do the same. So Manurse in 6th position on the lead, just down a lap on Cord. Cord still has one mandatory pit stop to make, but that could come towards the end if we do get a dry track. Six and a half seconds is the gap between him and Cord at the end of the previous sector, and we've got the 33 off the circuit. That's Mike spinning round in the Ferrari. He needs to be very careful not to rejoin into the path of other drivers, and he'll keep hold of his 12th place. I would have thought, but he'll have lost positions halfway into the race now. Well, I said earlier it was going to be something like a 58 or 59 laps. I would say it's going to be less than that. One, because of the weather, and two, with the ridiculous number of pit stops we have had in comparison to what we were expecting to see. So Mike into the pits, presumably for a change of tyres on one of his pit stop damage. And the 525 is off as well. That's Legerman, who's had a spin at Paddock Hill Bend. That's not the first spin we've seen from him in this race. And High Grade in the pit still, so I think that's him out of the running altogether. Joining Grills and Frank on the sidelines. So Cord's lead, 5.2 seconds in the last sector. So yeah, the gap has come down a little bit, 5.1 now. And we've got a battle for 4th place, hutting up between Nick in the BMW and Xenti in the Lexus, as they both head through clearways. We've got a yellow flag, and it's the 525 who's gone off. That's Legerman yet again off at Hawthorns, on the exit of Hawthorns. He's not having a good time of it, is he? And High Grade's back in the race now, actually, in 16th place and so many laps behind. And Mesenti's passed Nick, and he's gone through into 4th position. Nice move there, making up for lost time. And you remember he had to serve a stop-go penalty for speeding in the pit lane at the beginning. And he's coming through strong now. It's not about the problems that occur, it's about how you recover from it. And Mesenti, in a space of 45 minutes, has recovered excellently. I think that's a word. Mason's off the track as well. He's had a moment. Legerman in the pits, trying to stop in his mark. You can see he's got some form of damage to the front of his car. He's on the mark. He should rejoin in 11th place ahead of Mason. Well, he's behind Mike now, and he's behind Mason, so I think Legerman's going to rejoin, maybe even behind MPL. And we've got a car off. I think someone's lost connection. The 525. I'm just trying to see who's just lost connection there. Is it LK that's lost connection? Not 100% sure. We want to keep a close eye on what's going on in the battles on track. We're seeing the 876 in the pits. Yeah, High Grade's back in the pits as well, so I think he's had another spin somewhere. That's him down the order. But I'm sure we lost another driver on track. Oh, it was Grills. It was Grills that we lost, because he was already out of the race anyway. So that's his session done. As Darskill's moved ahead of Cord, so we didn't quite see the move. I think Cord made a mistake somewhere. So Cord has lost the race lead on track, and he's behind Darskill now. That's a big, big shock there, and he's lost a bundle of time because of the mistake he made around on circuit. Facco in third place, Kevin, ahead of Nick. Nurse about 8 seconds in front of Cablo. Cablo fighting back after his misdemeanors earlier on. The man who was leading the majority of the race he's left himself with it all to do, really. And another car's gone off circuit. Is that Mason who's gone off? Well, Mason's had a spin of his own. Struggling to get the car into Graham Hill Bend. Bonnet damaged on the front of that. But I'm sure there's another car who's picked up damage somewhere. A lot of these drivers are struggling to get the car on the circuit. Yeah, Mason's car is damaged. And Lego Man's struggling as well. He's not going very quick either around this circuit. Darskill continuing to extend the gap now. As we see, oh, there's two cars off and nearly taking out the leader. That was Nick and another car that was in there. I think it was MPL that was staying out of the way, all on different laps. We were very lucky not to take out the leader as well. Mason's not made it back into the pit lane yet. He's continuing to run wide at the moment. He's just staying out of the way of other cars that are going considerably much quicker than he is. And we're expecting a dry track within the next half an hour. So Cord, at the moment, can take his mandatory pit stop once the rain is cleared and the track is dry, and that's when he'll make his move. Yeah, Mason back in the pits. And it looks like Mike, is that Mike is coming in? Yeah, it's Mike that's coming in. I think I'm mistaken myself between him and Lego Man, because one's in the Ferrari and one's in the McLaren. Yeah, Mike's in, presumably with damage. So if the positions were to stay as they are, come the end of the race, Darskill will have a maximum score of 123 points. Cord would move up into second place on 108, so the gap at the top will be 15 points between those two. Essentially will fall down to third place. Frank would fall down the order because he's not going to be scoring, so Ryan should move up, as will Facco. I think Facco will move up into fourth place in the driver's standings as we speak. And Mason and Mike are still in the pits at the moment. Quite some time. Mason's off the mark now, so he should get going. And Manurse is in the pits. And this is not a mandatory pit stop he's needing to take, but is he wanting to get some wet weather tyres on, perhaps? That may well be the case. So we've got a battle between Facco and Vicente for third place, and drive-through penalty's been dished out to Mike for speeding in the pit lane also. So he'll be back in soon to serve that. Not very good news. So Darcy will come around to complete his 35th lap, 35 minutes to go. Looking very comfortable at the moment. Cord trying to make up for that earlier error. Mixensi's trying to make a move on Facco. These two are nearly a lap down, remember. And Mixensi trying to get a good run there on the Ferrari. Can't make it work just yet. He's going to make a move here into Hawthorns by the looks of it. He thought about it. Stays tucked in behind. And now these two will be heading towards the right-hander of Westfield. And through Dingledale, and there'll be another right-hander coming up of Sheen. No mistake from either driver on this occasion. So Manurse rejoined in 9th position after that pit stop they made. You want to watch McSensi as he makes a run on Facco on the pit straight. And I think we're going to see a move here into Putterkill Bend. McSensi on the inside, Facco stays to the outside. McSensi dives to the inside into Putterkill Bend, and a clean manoeuvre from him takes him up into the podium places. That was a sublime move from the Lexus driver. Excellent move there by Kevin. That's him into the top 3. Facco did everything he can to hold that off. Well, he could have covered the inside, but that would have left him completely vulnerable to Kevin on the exit Putterkill Bend. And I think Kevin would have got him into Druid. So Kevin up into 3rd place, Facco down to 4th position. Cablo moving up to 6th place as a result of Manurse's pit stop he made, but Cablo's off. He just goes onto the grass on the exit Putterkill Bend, but he rejoins without any more drama. But I think once Cord makes his pit stop, is Kevin going to get into 2nd position? I'm not so sure that he will. Well, Arlene's just gone wide there on the exit of Westfield. Got 841 having a bit of connection issue. I think that was LK who's just gone off track, I think. Well, it looks like he's gone into a different racetrack by the looks of things. We'll come to that in a moment. And Mike has still yet to serve his drive-through penalty, so he needs to serve it at the end of this lap, otherwise he will be black flagged. Track temperature's gone down to 19 degrees from what we were mentioning earlier. The Darskills lead 14 seconds now. And it looks like Highgrey is managed to get back in, although LK's back in the pits now. I think he's had an issue somewhere. because he had that connection issue, I don't think this will count as his mandatory pit stop. Mason is still in the pits also, so he hasn't rejoined the race. So I think that could well be his day done. Mike in 13th has to take his drive through at the end of this lap, as I've already mentioned. He won't lose any positions, so he may as well take it and run. And he's in the pits now to serve it, I think. Oh no, he's not in. He hasn't been in. And yeah, he's out. Mike has not taken that drive-through penalty as he should have done, so that is his race over. I mean, honestly, what a silly thing to do. You've been given the drive-through penalty, you know you've been speeding, and the fact you didn't take it tells you everything you needed to know. That is just really, really ill-considered and really silly to do. So unfortunately for Mike, he can only have himself to blame for that. The drive-through's been given out to you to serve within 3 laps and you didn't take it. So Mike's race is over. No points for him. So we've got just 12 runners in this race now from the 18 that started. We lost Frank, we lost High Grade, we lost Mike, we've lost Grills, we've lost Mason, and we've lost LK by the looks of it. He had connection issues earlier, and I doubt we're going to be seeing him return to the circuit. And Darskell running wide there on the exit of Sheen, who's still able to continue. And we are expecting the rain to stop very, very soon. When I say very soon, it won't be for at least another 10-15 minutes. LK's back in the race also, so we've still got 13 running. Will he complete enough laps, though, in order to get points? That's the only thing. I'm not sure what the rules are in relation to how many laps in comparison to the leader you must do. I'd have thought it'd be 90% or something like that. But we'll see what the steward says. It says that LK's 7 laps behind the leader. As it stands, he will not get points. He definitely won't get points at the moment. So Darskell leading then, coming up to lap Ryan, who's sitting in 8th position. Cord 17 seconds off the lead, and Maxensi, who's nearly a lap behind the leader, is in 3rd position. Now, one thing to remember is track limits also. The last thing you want is a track limits penalty. I'll be interested to know how many track limit warnings each driver has been given during the course of this race. We saw it a little bit in Misano last week. So Darskell goes past Ryan to put another lap on him. And he's coming up behind. Oh, that's not very clever driving that from... Who's that? It's one of the Ferraris, I think, that is just holding him up somewhat. It's the 4th place driver of Facco. I thought Facco would move out of the way by that point. Well, Darskell's got through anyway. So Facco lapped for the first time. So only the top 3 are on the same lap as the leader. From lap 41. Over 26 minutes remaining. We are expecting some dry running before the checkered flag. So Pedro, who's doing a very good race actually. He's had a very, I would say, a rather clean one all the way through in comparison to the previous two races. Imola, he was 14th, and the second race at Misano was 14th. Well, he's 7th here at the moment, doing a very, very nice job. A very, very nice job. There's a long way clear of Ryan. I just want to see what the gap is between these two. I know they're around about half a lap behind each other. Well, actually, it's Miners who's in 8th place, I should say. He's got ahead of Ryan. I think Ryan must have made a mistake somewhere. The gap that Pedro has over Miners, it's not showing up on the screen how far he is actually ahead. I can probably tell roughly how far he is ahead. Well, he's going through Sheen now, whereas Miners is only coming into Surtees, so he's got a big gap at the moment, is Pedro, and he's doing a super job. And that's a car going off circuit. Is that LK's off the circuit? No, it is. I think it was just to stay out of the way of the leader that was coming through. So I think that's the 8th time that he's been lapped by the leader in this race. He's still got 24 minutes remaining. Don't worry about that yellow flag. That will be because of Mike's Ferrari thrown into the pit lane after his disqualification for refusing to take the drive-through when instructed. You can see all the puddles in the gravel traps around Paddock Hill Bend and around Druids. And Ryan and Arnian not too far behind each other at the moment. 4.3 seconds is the gap. And I wonder if Ryan is beginning to struggle in these conditions. It's heavy rain at the moment. It will soon turn to light rain, and then I would say by the time we get to the last 10 minutes it should start to dry out. And Cord is the only driver apart from LK yet to take his final mandatory pit stop. Darskell is running in the lead at the moment. Will he decide to pit in for dries before this race is over? Doing very, very well. On course for 3 wins out of 3. There's no doubt he deserves a place. He slides his way through Paddock Hill Bend. He runs wide in the gravel, but he continues on his way. I was just going to say, with the pace that he is setting in comparison to the others, he probably warrants a place in the second tier of Taco Tuesday for next season, if he keeps it up. Cord running in P2. Kevin in P3, and it's Facco ahead of Nick. Cablo not too far behind Nick at the moment. He'll want to find himself all of a sudden back into contention, maybe for a podium, but that's a long, long way. So the gap between Darskell in the lead and Cord, it didn't show up in sector 1 what the gap was. We'll find out in a moment. It's now just over 27.5 seconds. It's coming over the line is Darskell. Let's complete another lap. 44 laps down. I would say we've got roundabout. It's about three minutes per 2 laps, isn't it? So we are looking at around, I would say 14 more laps of racing, no more than that. So potentially a 58 lap race. So 13 drivers running at the moment, although LK is a long way off the lead. I mean, Darskell's on that 45. LK. He's on lap 38. 7 laps off the lead. And let the stewards decide on what they're going to do in relation to the points. Whether those at the back end of the field will be eligible to get them. It has quieted down this race in comparison to what it was like at the start. In the opening 45 minutes. From lap 46, Darskell continuing to lead the way, dominating up front, as he had done in the opening 2 rounds at Imola and Misano. We go to Bathurst next week. At Mount Panorama, which will be, I think it will be a more challenging circuit for the drivers. It's a lot narrower overall in comparison to the rounds we've had, as Darskell runs a bit wider, probably turning a bit too soon there into Sheen. So the rain is getting a little bit lighter at the moment. There's not too much to discuss about in relation to battles on track. As Nurse is running in 9th, Arnie in 10th, MPL in 11th at the moment. Lego Man, who's had a really torrid afternoon after qualifying so well, he's in 12th place. He's not too far behind MPL. I think the gap was 24 seconds or something like that in the last sector that we saw. Just looking to see, has the rain stopped, or is it still falling? It's still falling. So for a moment, it actually stopped for a moment, but it hasn't yet. Sensi running in 3rd place, pulling away from Facco. Nick is too far behind to challenge Facco at the moment, so he's looking content there in 5th. He'll want to keep hold of that. Cablo 6th after leading earlier on. So the gap between MPL in 11th and Lego Man in 12th is 23.5 seconds. So the rain continuing to fall. Got 15 minutes to go, and Darskill's coming around to complete lap 48. It's been a super drive, really well recovered from earlier on. If you remember, he had a drive through that he had to serve for speeding in the pit lane, and we were thinking whether he was going to be out of sync in comparison to the leaders, but never a thing of it. Never a thing of it. He's been faultless from start to finish. I've just seen them extensively putting a lap on a couple of drivers. There's Pedro in 7th place, who's, I think he's just moving off the track to stay out of the way of Darskill. So through the right-hander of Hawthorns, we've just seen, is that Lego Man running wide there? I think it was, yeah. So he's about to be lapped yet again. Too many laps have been put on him today, in all honesty. Hasn't got any better throughout. But he'll take the points nevertheless. 12th position would net you 19 points. That's a big chunk of points it will be for the Lego Man, who's coming to serve as a reserve again this evening. 15th last week in Misano. I'll take his championship points total. I'll say his championship points total. He probably won't get points because he's a reserve, but I think when it comes round for him to do a full-time seat, you will want to get points every race, no matter where you finish, every position you finish. You do get points. LK in the pits, and this will be to serve his second and mandatory pit stop. He's probably thinking that he's so far out of sync, I may as well just get my pit stop done and out of the way. There's very much light rain now. The rain is easing. Track temperature up a little bit again, 20 degrees. So LK has done his stop now, his last stop, so he can go to the end. He's fallen down another lap on the leader, Darskill. Now Cord has got one more pit stop to make. Should keep hold of second place, although having said that, Kevin is coming through Surtees right now, whereas Cord is just coming through Clearways. Now, this could change things if Cord's pit stop isn't as quick as he needs it to be. .50 laps completed, and Darskill in firm control at the moment as he's about to put a lap on McSenty. I think that's interesting actually. If McSenty gets put down a lap and Cord stays on the lead lap, then obviously Cord would keep hold of second place by the time the checker flag has fallen. Wouldn't expect to see the race leader putting a lap on the driver who is closest to him in the championship standings. Bearing in mind this is a 90-minute race in comparison to a 60-minute one as normal. We will return to that next week. I think what would come to Cord's rescue is if the rain was to stop now and the track is dry, and then everyone will be very much into the pits unless they choose to stay out. There's 5 minutes to go though. It may not be worth making a pit stop, but for Cord, he has to do it because he's only made one mandatory pit stop. Darskell very much enjoying himself in the lead. I didn't quite see the gap between him and Cord. I will tell you, it is a very, very big margin. A very, very big one indeed. Less than 9 minutes to go now. When will the rain stop? I think it might have stopped already, you know. It's still obviously damp. And drivers will shortly be looking for the damp patches to keep the tyres cool. Cord knows that he's running out of time at the moment to make his pit stop. He's got about, I would say, 4 or 5 laps. Probably 4 laps to get this pit stop done before the race is over. And Manurse is in the pits then to get a set of dry tyres put on. He's far enough ahead of MPPL. I think Ryan and Arnian have gone through. Now, will Cord decide to pit in this lap? Well, MPPL is going to go past Manurse and into 10th position now. Manurse rejoins in 11th spot. So 53 laps completed, and it looks so it's going to be a 58 lap race. Now when the clock reaches 0, whatever lap the leader is on will be the last lap of the race. And it looks like Cord is on his way into the pit lane now. Just needs to be careful not to go in too quickly. And looks as though he's slowed down in time. We'll check to see after he comes out of the pits whether actually slowed down to his mark in time. Will he get out in front? A third place man, McSenty. Nick also in to go onto the dries. I think Darskell may just decide to go to the end of the race on the wets that he's on, unless he thinks otherwise. McSenty, unsurprisingly, staying out. I think Cord has just exited the pit lane in second place, so Cord on course for second in this one, as Darskell tries to put a lap on the third place man McClinty. And he does so without any issue. And Nick is rejoining 6th place now. Cablo is still on the wets. Will he remain on the wets by the time this race is done? 4 laps to go. Legerman back in the pits also to get a set of dries on. Darskell leading the way, running wide on the exit of Westfield. And there's 3 back markers, of which Darskell's coming up shortly. I think Arnian is holding up MPL in the battle for 9th position. They need to be careful because the leader is coming up to them very, very shortly. Is he going to power his way through the pair of them? Ooh, that's going to be risky. Contact made there between Darskell and MPL. He gets through on Armian. And Darskell is through, no problem. So we're into the final few laps then of this race, and Darskell's lap time was it a 1:31? Let's have a look to see what his lap was. Well, I can tell you the last lap time that Paul put together was a 1:37.2. I think that's because it's out lap when he came into the pit lane. As you can imagine, he's on the dry tyres now, so he's going to be putting out. He's going to be a lot quicker than the leader, but he's not going to find enough time to stop him from winning, that's for certain. He's almost a lap behind him, in fact. So the race leader started the penultimate lap. Cord in 2nd place, bringing Sensi on course for another podium. After this race, Sensi will have achieved a 2nd, a 3rd and a 4th. Oh, he's off though! Oh, he collects it all together on the exit of Graham Hill Bend. That was very, very nearly him into the barrier. He's got a big margin over Facco behind, so we won't want to take too many risks. So Darskell is coming up to another back marker now. Is that LK he's about to lap? No, it's not. Might be Cablo actually. Yeah, it is Cablo. The man who was leading the race earlier. All the pit stops are completed now, and the race leader is about to start the last lap of this race now. Trying to find the damp patches where possible. And there you go, there's your confirmation. This will be the 58th and last lap, as we predicted. Darskell on his way to make it 3 wins out of 3 in Taco Tuesday Tier 3 Formula Racing League Assetto Corsa Competizione. Cord almost a lap behind. He'll be coming home in second to pick up some important points for him and for the team. And a very good result considering that his teammate Jaco couldn't be around this evening. I think with Ryan finishing 8th and Cablo in 5th, I think that's going to take the SBR T3 squad into the lead of the team standings. We'll work it out after the checker flag anyway. So Darskell on his final lap is going to come through Sterling for the last time. It's going to come through Clearways for the last time. And there's Graham Hill Bend to get through as well. Darskell, in a class of his own, is going to win here in Brands Hatch. Darskell wins in the Formula Racing League Assetto Corsa Competizione yet again. Doing so in style and almost a lap ahead of the rest of the field. We knew he was going to go into this one as favourite, but boy, he blasted his way through after his shenanigans earlier on in the race. Kept his nerve, kept his composure all the way through. And I think that's Legerman who stopped on track. He probably ran out of fuel perhaps. Should keep hold of 12th place anyway. McSenty comes home to finish 3rd. A lap adrift. Facco will be 4th. Cablo and Nick are 5th and 6th. Good results for Nick especially. And Pedro in 7th. Cord will be coming through to finish in 2nd place. Whatever happens, as is the only other driver on the lead lap. Ryan is 8th, Arnie in 9th, MPPL will come home inside the top 10. Manurse, Legoman will be classified 12th, and then LK, depending on what the stewards say, is 13th. He may not keep the points as he may be too many laps behind the race leader, but we'll hear what the stewards say. What a brilliant race from Darskell. It was a very entertaining beginning, and I think after the first 45 minutes, I think it just sort of pretty much settled down. Yeah, an absolutely marvellous performance. This Cord coming home in 2nd place. He'll be very, very happy with that effort. And Lego Man will not cross over the line as he ran out of fuel. He stopped on circuit on the exit of Druids. And there's Darskell entering the pit lane, secure in the knowledge that he has won here tonight. And his championship gap will have increased as a result of it. Maximum points after 3 races. What a marvellous job he has done so far this season. Just seeing the rest of the drivers coming in. Arnian, home in 9th place. May not feel that was a positive result, but in his mind, I'm sure it will be. It was a very, very hard, long race for him. Didn't compete at Imola. Came in 5th last week in Misano. Is that McSenty coming into the pit lane? I think it is. He's just trying to reverse into his box, I think. Yeah, he'll be classified in 3rd place. Yeah, he was driving in the wrong direction, but he crossed over the line to take the checker flag anyhow. So we're just waiting for the classification to come up properly. Not exactly sure when that is going to happen. But I will tell you that Darskell has won with Cord in 2nd place. And it's shown as Facco as 3rd, but in actual fact it'll be McSenty shown as 3rd place. So Facco 4th, Cablo 5th, ahead of Nick in 6th. Pedro, best result of the season so far, in 7th place, and it's Ryan 8th, Arnie in 9th, and MPL running out the top 10. Manurse 11th, Legerman in 12th place, and LK 8 laps behind the race leader. I'm not sure what the stewards are going to make of that in terms of whether he should keep the points or not. We'll leave it down to them to decide it. Mason did not make it to the checker flag. He won't get any points. Neither will High Grade. Grills, it's been another race to forget for him. Frank also out earlier on, and Mike was disqualified for refusing to serve his drive-through penalty after he was speeding in the pit lane earlier on. In regards to the championship then, Darskell has 123 points to his name. McSenty with his 3rd place finish He should stay, I think, in second place, although he's now tied with Cord on the same number of points as each other, which will be 108 points each, and with a second, third and fourth place finishes to each other, in fact, it's very much a dead heat between them in the fight for second. Frank, with his non-score, he'll drop back horribly. He'll be behind Ryan, Thaco and Cablo, I think, as well. So he'll be down to 7th place, I'd have thought, after all that. In the team standings, Finnef Oldies, that's the team that Cord races for. With his second place finish, that moves the team onto 146 points. SBR-T3, that are run by Ryan and Cablo, they finished in 5th and 8th. Now, 5th and 8th gets you 32 and 26 points, which gives you 58 in total. They move on to 164 points, so they move in front of Finnef Oldies. The Das Jester Racing team, Darskell is the only driver serving for them this evening. 41 points for them, takes them on to a total of 137 points as far as what the website shows. So at the moment it's SBR-T3 that are leading the way in the team standings altogether. Well, all I can say is thank you very much for watching. The next round of the championship will be in a week's time at the Mount Panorama Circuit in Bathurst, Australia. So it will be a very entertaining race to watch, that's for certain. And we very, very much look forward to it, for sure. And in case you want to get involved, do make sure you like and subscribe and follow all the social media of which the Formula Racing League Assetto Corsa Competizione have to offer. And if you want to get involved in any of the championships that this league can offer, you can do by looking at the YouTube description and how you can get yourself involved as well. Well, thank you for joining us. I'm Tom Cairns, and thank you very much for joining us. And yeah, we'll do it over again in 7 days' time. Ken Darskell completes another victory over in Australia. We'll find out in a week's time. I'm Tom Cairns, and I'll speak to you again soon when the Formula Racing League returns.